Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about something a little different because I realize that with all my posts that I do about faith and the Bible, that with non-church going people, you really face one of two things when it comes to teaching the Bible. You either face one, people who are like very well versed in the word of God, and like that the things that they are taught, they take it with gladness, and it helps them to grow. It answers the questions that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, and in a lot of ways it makes your life easier. Secondly, with non-church people, is you're dealing with people who want nothing to do with God. They're either angry, bitter, or they just see no point in it. And so the things that they are taught, if they're not trying to walk it out, it makes them angry and it offends them. Which, I mean, that's fine in a sense, but if you get large doses of that, people tend to feel like they are the scum of the earth, which that's not the case. Our sin separates us from God, but we we all need to feel encouraged. We all need to know that, what, okay, teach, your kind words turn hurt into comfort somehow. Let's say, to use the lines from Billy Sprague's song Press On. You want to have people teach the word and it be seasoned with salt. It's like it's covered in grace and mercy and understanding. But the truth still is hard to take sometimes. So we'll take a break from it for this week, and today it's going to be fun facts about Kasey. It's things. It's like that. I mean, because I'm not just a Bible teacher. I love. There are a lot of things that I really enjoy in life. And so you'll get to know a little bit about me personally. Um, so here we go. Let's get started. Five favorite sports teams: the Wichita State Shockers, the Chicago Cubs, Denver Broncos, Colorado Avalanche, and Atlanta Braves. Now, the Shockers, it used to be the Kansas Jayhawks, but I actually believed when I was a kid that I was going to play college basketball for Kansas. You looked, I mean, well, you don't have to look through the Kansas basketball player history to find out Kasey is not on there. But but I just found out that, one, I'm not competitive enough. I saw how being crazy competitive could be, and it was not pretty. And I'm also not good enough. I've got an okay 3-point shot, but I'm just not consistent enough. So that dream never happened. But when I went to Wichita State, I actually had my first roommate was mentioning to me that it's like, if Wichita State played KU, who would you want to win? And I was like, that that's a difficult question. And I was like, I wouldn't care if the game went 10 overtimes, and but I'd want the Shockers to win. So I knew at that point the Shockers. I mean, it had changed. Um, and since then, now I'm a diehard. Um, Still like KU, but Wichita State's my team. The Chicago Cubs and Atlanta Braves, I grew up watching. The Atlanta Braves were on TBS, and the Cubs were on WGN. So there were two teams that I grew up watching, and they've just always been two of my favorites. Denver Broncos, being from Wichita, Kansas. Most of the people either like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Dallas Cowboys, and so I wanted to like someone different. So the first game I watched, John Elway threw a long touchdown pass across his body to Vance Johnson, and I was like, yeah, this is my team. And the color of their jersey at the time was pretty close to the color of my hair, so it was pretty easy. Colorado Avalanche, they actually used to be the Quebec Nordiques, but when they transferred to Colorado, my brother and his best friend at the time really liked them, and so I started to like the Avalanche, and they've won 3 Stanley Cups since then. So it was all the aforementioned teams have won a championship with the exception of Wichita State. Well, actually, they won an NIT championship, but not an NCAA big tournament championship. All right, my five favorite music albums: Fighter the Waiting, Hanson Middle of Nowhere, DeGarmo and Key Heat It Up, Point of Grace The Whole Truth, and Alabama Roll On. And the siblings that I'm the three closest to: my brother Cliff, my sister Karina, and my sister Krista. Now, Cliff and Krista, we grew up together. Obviously, Krista is 2 years younger than me, and Cliff is 5. He's up in heaven now. But yeah, they challenged me the most as a person. I mean, I would not be the person that I am today if it was not for them. Um, they dealt with me at my worst, and now it's like, through the patience of Christ and through them dealing with my worst, I ended up becoming a way better person because of them. And Karina is like, someone. Our relationship has grown since Cliff's death, and very down to earth person. She's a great hearted person. So yeah, it's like I really enjoy our conversations that we have, and yeah, Karina and Krista still help me to grow as a person, even still to this day. Well, all of my siblings do, but them three are the ones that challenge me the most. My favorite shows: One Tree Hill. This one surpassed Seventh Heaven a year ago because like there's a lot more realistic issues that they face on there than what Seventh Heaven was. Seventh Heaven is 2, Little House on the Prairie is 3, Boy Meets World, and then Hang Time. Hang Time, a basketball show. It's now without the basketball, it probably wouldn't be nearly as good, but I just always enjoyed it. My favorite movies: Facing the Giants, Angels in the Outfield, Angus, Forrest Gump, and Rigoletto. My 5 favorite songs: Running the Race by Fighter, I'll Be Believing by Point of Grace, God Is With Us by Point of Grace, The Come to the Well by Casting Crowns, and Broken by Scott Stapp. Um, my favorite musician is Rich Mullins. My favorite group is Hanson. My favorite books of the Bible are Matthew, Genesis, First Samuel, Revelation, and Jonah. Matthew, because I wrote Jesus More Than a Prophet with God's help, and that was predominantly the book that I used was a book of Matthew. Um, my longest held job was Dylan's at 20 years, 2 months, and 16 days. I'm a very precise person. It's funny on that. Like, it drives some people nuts, but but I've always been a very precise person, and you'll find out with my another fact that I say in a few minutes that like you know an illustration of why that drives people nuts. But the shortest held job I ever had was H&R Block for 6 months. I worked the tax season in 2003, and didn't like the idea of having to recertify every year. I mean, like, I was going to Wichita State at the time, and I think going to school, I think going to school for accounting should be recertification enough. But it's like can't change it. So to use a phrase that I don't like, but sometimes it does fit. It is what it is. My favorite boss I've been under at this to this point, Mark Davis. It's like he made it like he made a talk like he made a point earlier this week that bosses that are one of us are way better than bosses who are disconnected from the process, and I found out that to be true in my 6 years that I was a fuel lead at the Dillon's 13th and West in Wichita. You find out that whenever people have issues and they say, "Hey, this is what is truly going on," you're more likely to listen when you're one of them. But when you're disconnected from the process, you're like, well, this needs to work this way, because basically because I said so, which that's not a reason, but they use that because I said so as a power hungry phrase. Um, but yeah, my least favorite boss ever was Tom Shane, my last boss at Dillon's. My least favorite books of the Bible are Song of Solomon, First and Second Chronicles, Luke, and then Numbers. Now, why Luke? Because it seems dry to me. It's like I mean, it's in the canon of Scripture for a purpose. But one thing about because Luke was a lawyer, and lawyer jargon is they use a kind of a lot of big words, which is kind of like, oh, okay, this is dry. That I mean, it's more descriptive, and so I'm a I don't mind you telling me stuff, but get to the point. Um, like so we can like kind of enhance the conversation. Like my one of my closest friends is very descriptive too, and sometimes it's hard for me to keep my focus because you're like, okay, you're going into more elaborate, a lot more. So like enhanced conversation is getting to the point so we can talk about more other more stuff. But yeah, it's just a sidebar on that. Let's see. My five favorite cartoons: Thundercats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Scooby Doo, The Flintstones, and Looney Tunes. Um, Schools I went to. I went to Munson Primary, my kindergarten to second grade year. Cooper Elementary, third to sixth grade. Marshall Middle School, seventh and eighth. North High, my freshman year. And I actually went to Coeur d'Alene High for a couple of weeks when I moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Um, but being a Viking as opposed to a Timberwolf, I was glad that I transferred to Lake City High, even though I mean when it opened in the 94 95 school year. But yeah, the I was glad to be a Timberwolf. I went to Lake City High from my sophomore year to my senior year. I went to Wichita Area Technical College, got my associates in accounting, and then I went to Wichita State and got my bachelor's in accounting. And then I went to Word of Life Bible College and got my youth ministry degree. Now, why do you work at a factory when you're not when you have a bachelor's in accounting? Well, I found out, and even when I was working at Dillon's, I worked at Word of Life Church as a bookkeeper for a year and a half, and sitting down for like at a desk for 40 hours a week is not my cup of tea. I'm a very social person, so staying at a desk and not really being able to get out because of time constraints, that yeah, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I like to be around people. Um, so that's why I that's why I still work with that's why I work at a factory and work. I mean, I worked in retail for 20 years. So yeah, it's more right up my alley. Yeah, I am a wrestling fan. My five favorite wrestlers are Hulk Hogan, um, Undertaker, Bret Hart, um, Braun Strowman, and I put the other list. The Rock. My bad. I was like, it slipped my mind. But my favorite wrestling moment was when Braun Strowman and a 10-year-old won the tag team championship. Now it was funny with that because I remember the scene because I always liked Braun Strowman just because he was very candid about what he wants. I want competition. I want Roman Reigns or else. Like yeah, it's like he was fun to watch. Like even though I've seen like some of his some of his posts, and he's a very nice person outside of the wrestling ring, which most wrestlers are. But the whole storyline thing, he would have like different he'd make himself out to look like a different character to make it seem like that was going to be your tag team partner, and then at the at WrestleMania he goes into the crowd and picks out a 10-year-old, and they wrestle the match, and when Braun tags him in, he looks at his opponents like, no, 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 I don't want to do this, and so he tags in and they win, but they had to give up the title the next day, but I mean. That kid probably still to this day talks about I was a WWE Tag Team Champion with Braun Strowman for one day, so it's gonna be something that he'll remember for the rest of his life. And it's what I think sports should be all about is giving them something that they will remember. You know, it's not about the money, it's not about the fame. It's about giving them something that they can say, hey, I got to team up with Braun Strowman. I got to be the WWE Tag Team Champion, or hey, I got to meet Michael Jordan, or I got to meet Mike Tyson. Those things make your life a little bit more enjoyable for a time, and that's the best thing. Um, Makes sports worth watching. But anyway, impersonations. This one could be like, kind of fun. I've always liked to do impersonations. When I was a kid, I had a lot more that I could do, but of course now that I'm out of practice, not really as much. But but here we go. Just a sec. The leprechaun. Looks like me gold. Ha ha. Tastes like me gold. It is me gold. The woodchuck. Is this house made of wood? Then Patrick. Hey, SpongeBob. Hey, Patrick. Then Elmer Fudd. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbit. Anyway, then I have a memorable stop bowling event time, whatever. When I was a kid, I had next door neighbors who were really, I mean, probably my favorite neighbors I've ever had in my life. But they we were in a like in what DRC, which is Derby Recreation Commission. We which had different different summer activities that people can go to get away from the mundane of summer vacation and being home all the time. We were they were sitting on the steps in front of Cooper Elementary, and I had a guy who was like who me and he was usually a really cool person, but he must have been having a bad day that day. But he was bullying these girls, and and I stepped in. I told him to stop, and he wouldn't. And he kicked. He tried to kick at them, and he missed. I think one of them dodged it, and his shoe fell off. And so I picked up his shoe, just wanting to throw it. Throw it far to make it where he had to chase it a little bit, so that way it'd buy the girls a little bit of time. Well, when I threw it, it landed in the in the trash can about 30 feet away, and the middle girl was like, "Nice shot, Kasey," but the afterwards, the guy's mom called my mom and said, "Your son owes me a new pair of shoes." And mom's like, "Why?" "Because he threw my son's shoes in the trash." Like, and because I had already told mom what went on, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry if he's bullying these girls, and he had it coming." And and so he's like, "My son ain't gonna be buying you a new pair of shoes." And she didn't like it, but it was you're bullying someone and someone stands up to you. Yeah, you got it coming. I'm not a vengeful person, but but yeah, it's one of those things like standing up to people is not revenge. It's you make sure that people are treated fairly, and you don't. I mean, if our goal is to treat others the way you want to be treated, then I know if the script were flipped, you would not want people to bully you. Nobody likes being bullied. Um, Times someone has stood up for you. The two times that I recall right off the top of my head, I was, I was in youth and children's ministry at Word of Life at the time, and Marquise and Jennifer Murphy came up to me one day after after church and asked me, "Why are you not leading? Why are you not teaching?" Because teaching is in you, and I told him I was doing the offering. It was like, no, I didn't ask. That's not what I asked. I said, "Why are you not leading?" And so it led to me being um, the main leader or the main teacher for him for the entire duration of the time that he and Jennifer were the children's pastors. And I went through tough times during that point, which no matter what I went through, I felt like I owed it to them to stay in and continue to teach, even though the personal issues were the hardest issues I've ever had to face in my life. Um, and then so yeah, that ended. My teaching ended the end of 2013 when they stepped down, but it was enjoyable time. They were I still have a great deal of respect to them to this day. And then with Rosie Alvarez, when I was working at Dillon's, when she stepped down from being the fuel lead, she would let my boss at the time Ricardo, no, hey, Kasey deserves the opportunity. She'd be a bug in her ear, the itch that can't be scratched. And, she kept saying, Kasey, Kasey, Kasey. And I ended up getting the position. And so, like, I was a fuel lead for 6 years. So, yeah, it was. So those opportunities would not have been given to me if I didn't have like someone going to bat for me. But on the fuel lead thing, I was actually the only person running, like, that ended up going for that position. So God had my back as well, which so many things He does. Um, then how tall am I? 5 foot 11 3/4. I say 3/4. My sister Chelsea thinks that I say that because of it's an ego thing, so I can say, "Oh, I'm 3/4 of an inch taller than you." No, 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 no. That's not even it at all. Again, I'm very precise. I'm too tall to be 5'11". I'm too short to be 6 foot. So I mean, I'm fine with being called 5'11" because I've been 5'11" since high school, but that the 3/4 is not because I have an ego. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really bother me. Um, my best male role models I've had, Coach Nash at Marshall. I loved how he every day he'd be standing outside at the bus stop singing praises to God while waiting on the students to get off the bus. And he was always very laid back, always very approachable, and I think most of the kids adored him. And he was like, and there was one kid who asked him about, like, you can get in trouble for talking about God at school. And he addressed everybody. He said, you know what, they can take my job, I'll get another one, but you cannot stop me from talking about what I believe in. And so that was and he did like that was something that always stood out to me. And he taught for 39 years, and I'm sure he had that attitude with lots of different people, and God honored him for it. Dave Fialco was my algebra teacher at Lake City High. He was very humble, very laid back, approachable, liked sports. It was um, it was good to have like it's good to have like male role models, as I'm a big advocate of role models. Um, my best friend in 7th and 8th grade, David Wright. He wasn't always easy to get along with, just like I wasn't at first. But then once we got to become friends, he's still one of the people that I respect the most. He's a very good-hearted person. Then what? Rob Rottola, my longest pastor, I was under him for 14 years at Word of Life, and through his ups and downs, through his imperfections, he's he showed me a lot of what it is like to be a godly man. And so yeah, so he was pretty cool on that. And of course my brother. Let's see, next ones. We're almost done. How did you get from God thinking that God was vengeful to a loving and merciful God? I got on his side. Living in disobedience is fighting against God. It was learning to see him as an ally and having the courage to ask his help to help me to become better, where I was able to see him, like, see his good side. When you're fighting against anybody, you're not going to see their good side. Just because you're fighting against them. Most influential females in my life: Mom, Krista, Karina, my best friend in high school, Jamie, and my first crush was Missy Larson. Now, the thing with Jamie was the one that told me that if a person doesn't accept you for who you are, they're not worth having in your life to begin with. And she was also the one who said that I have the heart of Christ, and it's a nice thing to to run with, but you never feel like you deserve that. And and Missy Larson, our friendship started out fighting, but after that, um, we became we became good friends for a little bit, and I still respect her to like a great deal to this day. Five guilty pleasure songs: Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. I know that's a sexual song, but it's like, still being a virgin, it's fine. It's like music is what you make it in a lot of ways. It was sheer entertainment to me. Ooh Ah, Just a Little Bit, Gina G. I'll Pray for You by Jaren and the Long Road to Love, which my brother Cliff got me into that song. As like a person with a pastor's heart, it starts out great, and it turns into ways that make you laugh, which a lot of people, when they're dealing with forgiveness, they do think that way to a certain extent. Until like God works on them to where it's like they're not thinking that way anymore. And then Love Fool by the Cardigans. Most humbling lessons I've ever learned in life from sports was playing basketball with a girl by the name of Megan Carpenter. I was cocky, thinking, "Oh, I'll beat her." She ended up schooling me, and and then I ended up then. Then the second time I played her, I beat her. But the lesson I learned is that you don't underestimate anybody. Because I've never really had a problem with losing to girls. My best friend Jamie from high school, I've never beaten her at anything. I mean, like 0-2 against her in basketball, and then we played pool when she came down for my Wichita Technical College graduation, and she beat me both times then. So losing to women never really has bothered me. Um, because it's just a part of life. You win some, you lose some. Period. My favorite books are the Bible, White Fang, Sweet Valley High, To Kill a Mockingbird, and The God Makers by Ed Decker and Dave Hunt. Um, Closest friends right now: Ben, Joseph, Jeff, Ross, Josh Davis, and Scott Darnell. Um, what other facts would you like people to know in closing? I'm loyal to a fault. If I like and trust you, I will defend you even if you've hurt me in the past. I try my best to like everyone. Not liking someone takes too much energy and joy out of your life. I'm not disrespectful unless someone disrespects me first. I will stand for what's right even if it's not popular. It hasn't always been the case, but when you're 46, you care less what others think than what you do at 26. Lastly, I'm a kid at heart and hope that never changes. That is about it. You guys have anything else you would like to know? Feel free to ask, comment, like, subscribe, and you guys have a blessed week. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We'll be back to learning more about God's Word, the Bible, next week.